Some of this Caron Big Donut O'Go. Says it's tangle-free, but we're gonna test that out. This is my first ball. I can't believe it. It was regular price, $13.99 Canadian dollars at Michael's. I used a 30% off coupon, so I actually paid $9.79 Canadian plus 5% tax. Okay, let's see what we get. I got the worsted weight that I could find. They didn't have a huge selection. Here's the ball band information. So you can see it's a worsted weight. It's calling for a 5mm hook. Now you should know when a yarn calls for the same size hook as it does for needles, it's wrong, usually. Some people's crochet gauge will match this, but most people's won't. So if you find you're getting some very stiff fabric by using this hook, that's why. It really should be a higher, maybe a 5.5mm or even a 6, depending on how tightly you crochet. Let's see, this, I don't know if I should call it a ball or something, this donut of yarn contains 402 yards, which is pretty high. Though for the price, I don't know, I think the price was still a little bit high. I don't know what this yarn would be if it was in a regular ball, so it's hard to compare, but Caron Simply Soft, which is the yarn that I use the most, is regular price $6.99 Canadian at Michael's, and it has 315 yards. So this is a little more expensive than that, but it's supposed to be tangle-free. So let's open it up and see what there is to see. How do I do this? I pull on this side, maybe? Oof, okay. There we go. Oh, there's stuff on the inside. Wash in water. Do not bleach, tumble dry low. Okay, so that's how I usually wash my yarn things, so that's fine. So we have instructions here. Carefully cut the plastic tie where the ends of the O'Go meet, and that's here. Oh, so apparently you can rip it apart. Shoot, now I gotta pull it out wherever it went. Okay, how am I gonna... So I'm supposed to start from this end. I know because it's the end I can find. So, I don't know what to do about that plastic that just went in. What I'm planning on testing this yarn to see if it actually is tangle-free and is a decent yarn, because it needs to be both, in my opinion. I was going to divide this horseshoe thing into half and make a Mio's hat, which is a pattern of mine. It uses a double-ended hook, and it's free. It's linked in the description below. So, but I need two balls of yarn. So what I thought I'd do, because this is plenty to make it, is just divide this in half. So maybe when I divide it in half, I'll find the plastic thing, wherever it got to. So, I don't know, this side looks bigger than this side, so I'm not sure if I should divide it in between here, or if I should divide it at the color. Well, if I do it wrong, I'll just have to make up whatever's missing with whatever's left on the other ball. Right? So what I think I'll do is I'm going to divide it at this color. So my understanding is you just sort of pull it apart. You want to keep your blue yarn on one side and your taupe, I don't know what color that is, tan, the other color. And you just pull it apart. Oh, there we go. There's our plastic thing, which I cannot get out, so... All right, it must be stuck at this end. Nope, I can't get that out. So I'm just going to cut it because this end is kind of textured. So we'll cut that. So if we find it again, it should pull out nicely the other way. Here's hoping. Okay, so you can see where the colors meet. I'm not sure if that's going to focus or not. Yeah, it's kind of gradual, but not really. I'm just going to cut right between those. I don't think I'll get to I'm going to cut a little bit to the right of the blue because I don't think I'm going to get to the end of the blue. I don't want to do blue on the beginning of that, although it would have been in the end anyway that I would have to weave in, so it wouldn't matter. Okay, so that's what that looks like inside. Looks like a cornucopia. All right. So yeah, the plastic thing's still in this end, but that's fine. So we have this end to work from, and we have this end to work from. So I'm going to go ahead and cast on. So I have a 6mm double-ended hook here. I don't know, you can't see the two hooks at the same time, but they're both there. I think I'm going to do my base chain with the blue. Normally I'll do the darker color as the main color, or I'll do the solid color if I'm using solid and variegated, but these are both striped, so I just got to remember the blue is the main color. I think I'm only going to chain 45. The pattern for the adult hats is 50, but I think, you know what, this worsted weight is a little thicker than I imagined it would be. I wonder if a 6.5 would be better. We'll just do it. See what happens. Okay, so I'm already having problems doing this on camera because the yarn wants to pull this way, and to hold it where you can see, I have to hold it above. So that's already not working. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit and be right back. I have finished one of my wedges for the hat. It was okay. I had to keep moving these. I'm a little worried about this end getting loose. So we'll see how that works. So the next step that I want to try now is to throw this into a project bag and carry it around with me for a while and see how it goes. And I really wish I could get this plastic thing out because you can see it's sticking out. It's not in the way, but it is sticking out, and I don't know if that'll become a problem going down. But you can see this end, it's pretty, this is the end you're not supposed to mess with, right? Oh, I think I can feel it. I think I can feel it. There it is. Hey, we got it out. So there's the plastic thing. Try to take that out before you start. I highly recommend doing that. All right, so let's get these horns of yarn into a bag and see what happens. All right, I've got my Michaels bag here, and I always throw the yarn in first and then put the project on top. Get that in there. I'll throw in the hook, and off we go. It's been a couple of days, and my project bag has been kicking around my office for a bit. I just move it with my foot when I need it out of the way, and I've taken it on a few errands. So let's see how the yarn looks. Just looking in the bag right now, I can see it's very loose on the end, but that is not the end that we pull from. So let's see what we've got. All right, so there's the blue half, and it's looking pretty, yeah. All right, brown half, which looks great, I have to say. Look at that. The side looks fine. There's a little loose one there, but no big deal. This end, which is the natural end of the ball, is perfect. It looks exactly how it looked when I put it in there, I think. We've got our project. So now that these two halves of the ball have been kicking around in a project bag for a while, I'm going to do another wedge on my hat and see how the yarn pulls off of it. So there we have the second wedge finished. You can see there it is on the blue side there. It's currently measuring 7 inches. I think I'll do 6 wedges and then measure it again and see if I like the size. Not a lot of problems with this second wedge. Again, there's a lot of, the ball, this blue one fell off my table here while I was working. I just brought it back up, but you can see this end is getting very, very loose. I wonder if I can just tuck it in. The end is out here too. So we'll see how that goes. I think on the next wedge, I'm going to sit a little farther back from my table, and if the ball falls off, or whatever, if the yarn falls off at the table, I'm just going to let it bounce around on the floor and do what it wants to do. I suspect this brown one, because this brown one is still in the original sort of shape of the original donut. I don't know what to call this thing. It's holding together beautifully, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. It's this blue one that we cut off that is going to be interesting to see what happens with it. So far, though, other than having to keep sort of futzing with it as I pull, because sometimes the yarn gets stuck between the ball and the table, and when you pull it, the whole ball wants to come. As far as I've seen in all of the marketing for this yarn, they haven't promised that you would not need to futz with it. They just say that it won't tangle, and I'm pretty sure that that's in the context of what you would normally get trying to get the center pull out of a regular ball of yarn. I'll detail my opinions about that at the end of this review. So for the next thing, I'm just going to throw this right back into my bag, keep kicking it around the office a bit, and when I do the next wedge, we'll see how it bounces around on the floor, I guess. This is what I've got left of the blue after making my Mio's hat. And it occurred to me that I don't crochet as fast with a double-ended hook as I do for making granny squares. When I make granny squares, my Fitbit thinks I'm on an elliptical machine, and I'm just not that fast on double-ended hooks. So let's make granny squares with the rest of this yarn to see how it handles really fast crocheting. And so here we are at the end. Let's go with some conclusions. So this says it's tangle-free and quick start. The quick start, yes. The tangle-free, yeah, mostly. I would recommend not cutting the yarn like I did between the blue and the brown. Just use the ball normally, use it in the order that it comes in, and you should not have any problems. It should actually be tangle-free. Now, I don't know if the company actually advises cutting the yarn partway through. I've seen it in some YouTube videos, but I don't know if that's official advice. My advice is just don't cut it. I think you'll be able to get from one end of the donut to the other without any tangles if you just use it normally. So, how did I do? I got my hat finished. It's mostly just this light blue color with the tan. But you'll see I did end up with a stripe at the end. I ended up doing 6 wedges plus 2 rows, just because at 6 wedges, there were 2 very short rows that were with the dark colors, and I thought that looked weird. So I did a couple extra rows. It's a little bigger than I would have liked, but it's still human-sized, so I'm happy. I also got my granny squares finished. The blue ended up tangling at the end, but the brown did not. And you see all the granny squares I ended up making. I'm hoping I can turn these into a blanket somehow. I got a couple of ones here. So these squares are 7 rounds, and then I got 2 1s and a 5. So it's not too bad. The yarn itself is thicker than I normally like to use. And I think maybe using a 6mm hook would have been better, but it would have given me bigger holes, and I didn't want that. So is this yarn worth it? It's hard to say. I mean, the fact that it didn't tangle, other than that blue, let's ignore the blue for now. The fact that it didn't tangle is nice. And I said at the beginning of this video that I think the concept here is to replace regular balls of yarn where when you try to pull out the center pull, you get yarn barf or a big tangle of yarn. And I mean, it does do that. However, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I feel like if the companies would just make sure that the center pull is on the outside of the ball when you buy it, that it's not as big of a deal. The real problem comes when you're trying to dig the end out from inside the ball of yarn. So that being said, it'd be interesting to see what happens if they make this donut style of skein out of Caron Simply Soft, which is quite a slippery yarn. I wonder if it would hold its shape, or, I mean, what would happen? The other thing that I'm not too sure about this yarn is how would I store it? I don't think that this shape is a particularly space-efficient shape for, like, storing yarn. So if I had more than one ball of this, I'm not sure how I would store them. In the end, though, I think the marketing for this is true. If you use it just as one ball of yarn, you'll have no problems with tangles. And yeah, I had it in a project bag that I was literally kicking around my office for, a week or so. No damage came to the brown section. I don't believe I'll be buying this again just because I'm not a huge fan of the yarn itself, but the format it came in is lovely. Now, if you have regular balls of yarn kicking around in your stash that you risk getting yarn barf, or you want to rewind them to have a center pull ball, I do have a video on my channel you can check out. Once again, the pattern for this hat will be found in the description below, and thank you for watching.